Want to try a Korean dish that's popular and that your family will love? Chef Nicole has the recipe that's also easy on the budget.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Taste of the Ozarks. Summer's starting to wind down, but that doesn't mean it's time for end of summer food. And I always think of Korean barbecue as a summer food, and one of my favorites is beef bulgogi. So today we're gonna make a beef bulgogi, but we're gonna use ground beef instead of the traditional thinly sliced beef. A lot more economical, a lot easier to find, and this meal comes together so quickly. So let's go ahead and start by talking about our ingredients. We've obviously just got some ground beef here. This is a little on the leaner side. This is 85-15 ground beef, which means it's 15% fat, 85% meat. For our sauce for our bulgogi, we're gonna use tomato paste, we're gonna use some liquid aminos, a little bit of brown sugar, some garlic. We've got onions and ginger going in the pan over here, and then we're gonna whip this all together and serve it over some rice. So let's move on over to our pan. All right, so we've got our onions and our ginger going in our pan here. We are gonna go ahead and just add our fresh garlic to this. You don't wanna add the garlic early because garlic will burn very quickly. So you wanna give your onions and ginger a chance to caramelize first. And then we're gonna add our ground beef straight on top of that. Now we're using ground beef, but you can certainly use ground chicken or ground turkey, really whatever your preference is. Just keep in mind, ground beef is naturally gonna have a stronger flavor to it. So if you are using something like chicken or turkey, you might need to pull back on your soy sauce or your seasonings just a little bit. So you'll just wanna taste it to make sure it's not too strong once you get the actual sauce component in. But now that we've got that kind of going, we're gonna start working on our sauce because we want the sauce to be really nicely cooked into the meat. Now you've got a couple different choices. You can use soy sauce or you can use coconut amino if you're looking to reduce some of that soy and a little of that sodium. We're gonna use about 2.5 tablespoons of this just to start our base. And because this is naturally a very salty sauce, we're not gonna add any salt to this at all. Go ahead and let that stir around just a little bit. And then next we're gonna add our tomato paste. Tomato paste is what gives beef bulgogi kind of that slightly reddish color, and we're only using about a tablespoon of that. You don't need a ton. We're just really trying to get a good sauce base going here. Again, get that nicely stirred around. You want to see all of that tomato paste melt into your meat here. And the meat is browning as we're making this sauce, which just makes this meal all the much faster. And then we are going to sprinkle over our brown sugar here. We want that to melt in as well. You could use white sugar if you want to, but I like brown sugar. Gives it a little bit more of that deep, rich flavor. And then lastly, we're gonna use some of this sriracha chili paste. I got this at Walmart. You can get it at most grocery stores. If you can't get the combination, then you'll just use a little sriracha and chili paste separately. It's gonna give it just a tiny bit of spice, which we want for our dish here. Give this just a little bit more of a stir. And then we can go back over and start talking about what we're gonna put on top of our bulgogi while this beef finishes browning up. Now we're gonna top this off with a little green onions and some sesame seeds. So for our green onions, we're gonna go about halfway up the green here and cut that off. And then because these are kind of the more tender, flexible parts, we're gonna put this on top of the tougher, more rigid part, and then that's how we're gonna cut our little rounds of green onion here. This green onion is not only gonna add a visual appeal to it with a difference in color, but it's also gonna add a nice sharp flavor contrast to it. I would definitely not skip out on the green onion. If you're going to, I would add some other kind of fresh green herb to it, perhaps a cilantro or some parsley or something like that. And then lastly, we'll add these sesame seeds. All right, our meat is nicely browned up here, so we're gonna go ahead and pull this over. You can look at it, it's got a beautiful color and texture to it. Managed to get some nice caramelization in there. Has some of that red sauce coming off the side of it, which is very typical for a really good bulgogi. So we'll pull over our steamed rice. We're gonna put some of this just right on top of that rice there. I'll tell you, this reheats wonderfully for the next day. So if you're looking for a meal that'll cover a couple of days, this is a great one for that. We're gonna top this with some of those chopped green onions. And then lastly, some of our sesame seeds on here. This meal comes together so quickly. It's an awesome one for meal prep. If you're a meal prepper and you want to have meals ready for the rest of the week, it's a fan favorite with my kids. They think it's absolutely delicious. And honestly, it's a really economical meal. You're looking at ground beef, a couple sauces, rice, and some green onions. So if you're looking for a budget-friendly, delicious, easy summer dinner, this is a great one. Give it a try, and we'll see you guys next time on Taste of the Ozarks.